Jeff, you open your rebuttal with an attack on my constructive speech, specifically what you perceive to be a violation of fiat. I would like to take some time to discuss fiat and clarify so you and the judges can more clearly see the flaw in your logic. Yes, I do criticize your lack of proposed plan. No, I am not in violation of fiat. The debate rule you reference is in place so no person can argue the logistical feasibility of a plan. I am not, nor was I ever, arguing the feasibility of your plan, only because you didn't have one. Quote, fundamental truth in my argument that is nowhere in my speech that I propose a plan outlining the banning of violent video games that glorify gun violence. Close quotes. In my previous speech and in this one, I am pointing out that while you have made your case, albeit shaky, for the inherent problems of the status quo and harms affiliated with it, you failed to provide substantial solvency. I understand you have taken a position on the debate resolution, but just arguing harms is not sufficient for a winning affirmative. Another quotation of yours I would like to address is, quote, to be clear, I have never suggested the circumvention of U.S. law or the U.S. legal system via creation of policy, end quote. I will concede that technically you are correct. You have not suggested any circumvention via creation of policy because you failed to create any policy. Any policy you would create, however, would be in direct opposition to the Supreme Court decision made on June 27, 2011 in Brown v. Entertainment Merchants Association. You do not make clear your interpretation of the resolution as it pertains to a ban. Would all video games be banned outright? Would video game content be controlled entirely by the government, like a scene out of George Orwell's novel 1984? You asked the judge to dismiss, I quote, to dismiss any statistical or scientific information, end quote, I provided. On what grounds, I'm not exactly sure. The Toronto Star is a well-accredited newspaper, one of Canada's premier newspapers, publishing issues since 1892. Yes, my source was from Popular Press, but if you had looked up the source, you would see that all the quotations I cite are from a published excerpt by Dr. Olson and Dr. Kuttner, not an interview as you mistakenly said. Dr. Olson has her doctorate from Harvard Medical School and a postdoctorate from the University of Basel in Switzerland, another one of the top universities in the world. Dr. Kuttner has a PhD in clinical psychology, and while he is involved in the popular press, his Emmy award-winning broadcasting should be validation enough of his dedication to factual evidence in the press. I would like to counter by asking the judge to dismiss Jeff's desire to discredit my sources on these grounds. If you're going to attempt to question the validity of my sources, please actually look them up and read them. It is still not clear what your position is on the link between video games and acts of violence. In your constructive, you say thousands of documented studies show playing violent video games correlate with an increase in test subjects' aggressive and violent behavior. You also say, and then cite again in your rebuttal, quote, it is impossible to directly link video games to acts of violence, end quote. Your contradictions hurt your argument in that I am unsure what message you are trying to get across. You repeatedly bring up the infamous Columbine and Norwegian shootings and what seems to be an attempt to link them to video games, yet your quotations previously cited seem to indicate you think otherwise. You use the description section of your second speech to post citations. I'm unsure if this is a legitimate way to use citations in this debate, but that is an issue I'll leave for the judge. In my opinion, not including the citations in your verbal speech is the same as not including your citations at all. In conclusion, I would like to repeat some points I've made to stress their importance to the judge. A ban on violent video games would be and has been established as unconstitutional in the United States of America. I would like to also remind the judge that Jeff's failure to address many of my constructive points indicates his conceding to the truth of these points, despite not explicitly saying I'm correct. None of this, however, is immediately pertinent in this debate because my opponent has failed to establish any solvency in his argument. This enormous error in my opponent's construction of his argument, coupled with his tendency to stray from topicality, should be indication of my win in this debate round. Thank you both for your time and consideration.